Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Seattle Socialist Mayor Katie Wilson is spending money she doesn't have. Guess who she's going to get it from? But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
Believe it or not, I wasn't the best athlete in high school. I know. Shocking, right? The short Jewish guy really wasn't that good at sports. I know. Everybody's so surprised when they hear that. My sports career peaked in 8th grade. Why? Because in 8th grade, I was the tallest kid in my class, second tallest kid in my class. And the rest of the people had not yet had their growth spurts. I did. And so I have been this height since 8th grade. That's where it stopped, right where I am right now.
You know what's funny about that is I think everybody listening right now can remember that person in class.
Mm-hmm.
I have someone in mind right now.
Yes.
He was an amazing athlete, tallest person in our class, fastest runner, and that stopped at 6th grade.
Exactly. Now, I don't want to say I was the best athlete in class. I was just tall. So my coach, who really helped with a lot of my self-esteem and stuff as I was a kid, I was terrible at basketball. But he taught me how to play defense because I couldn't shoot. And he goes, if we put the biggest guy in the box under the basket, guess what? He's going to stop a lot of baskets. And I was pretty good at it until one summer. It took one summer for me to go from center to point guard. That's when everybody came back from camp and had their growth spurts, and my career was over.
When was this? What, middle school?
This was 8th grade.
It was 8th grade.
This was 8th grade. Yeah, walked into high school on the first day with all these new kids who, some of them I knew, some of them I didn't know, and I'm like, you used to be a lot shorter than me. What the hell happened this summer? That was 8th grade. So I found water skiing, and water skiing was something I started doing, and it turns out I was really, really good at water skiing. Really good at it. And I was really good at wakeboarding because guess what? When you're shorter, you can go higher in the air because there's not as much weight. So I was better at it than these people. And it was great. And it was fantastic. Then there was this one kid, Eric. Now, Eric was way older than me. I shouldn't even call him a kid. He was basically an adult at this point. And I meet Eric. Eric looked like a Greek god. Eric looked like he stepped out of the pages of a sports magazine. Perfect nose, perfect tan, perfect everything. And guess what? He was a way better wakeboarder and water skier and everything than me. And you know what? Was I jealous? Sure. But that doesn't mean I did anything to try and take him down. We had our own problems aside from that. But he was better than me, and there's nothing I could do about it. Did I go start competing in wakeboarding women's sports? No, that's not what you do. I took it like a man and realized Eric is way better at this than I am, and he also looks like he stepped off the pages of GQ magazine. I unfortunately do not anymore. Oh. Anyway, why am I telling you all of this? The lies that are being told about the initiatives are being parroted by the Lamestream media. And I am tired of it because a simple Google search will tell you what's true and what's false. Let's start with this. Boys are boys. Boys cannot be girls. Sorry, dudes. So if you can't cut it in the boys' league, that doesn't mean you go start playing in the girls' league. If I can't compete in the Tour de France, do I get to go to Harley Davidson, buy a motorcycle, and then identify as a cyclist? No, that's not how it works. If you can't cut it where you are, it doesn't mean you go down and 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 down so that you're the best person on the team. By that logic, I should be playing T-ball right now, and I'll have a great T-ball career. I really, really will. It's very, very simple. The kid in Kindergarten Cop had it exactly right.
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
It is that simple. That simple. And yet they are trying to tell you that just ain't the case. Now, before we rip into what's going on with the Democrats, I'm a little mad at Como News today. Como News ran an article that basically parroted the talking points of the Democrats, as opposed to what's actually going on with the initiatives. I don't know who Natalie Fahmy is, but clearly this thing was done in a hurry because they're understaffed, because they have so few newsrooms, or Natalie has a political horse in this race. Here's the headline. For those of you who are about to get really mad at your radio, don't get mad at me. Transgender sports ban. Millionaires tax repeal officially on Washington November ballot. Right off the bat from the headline. Are any of these initiatives banning transgender people from competing? No. It is saying you have to compete in your biological gender. Because guess what? As we have learned horrifically, boys should not be wrestling with girls. Look what happened in the Puyallup School District that was caught on video. Boys should not be wrestling with girls. Boys should not be spiking volleyballs into girls' heads, making them hit their heads on the ground and then have lifelong brain injuries. Boys should not be in physical contact with girls in sports. Full stop. End of story. That should be that. This is not a ban on transgender individuals playing. It is if you are a dude, you are not a girl, you stay in your league. We need to stop affirming people's mental health issues or people's lack of self-esteem and say, here's how you fix it instead. From the article, there are officially 3 statewide issues on Washington's November ballot. The first initiative certified for the November midterm would prohibit transgender girls from playing sports on girls' team. Shall we fix this a little bit? It would prohibit confused boys from playing sports on girls' sports teams. The initiative, if passed, would require students to undergo routine physical examination prior to participation in interscholastic sports, which includes documentation of the student's sex assigned at birth. Now, you're going to freak out and say, oh my God, the coach is calling the kids into the office and saying, drop your skirt, drop your pants, drop whatever. I got to see if you're a boy or girl. That is not what's going on. Let's go to the text of the initiative itself. I cannot believe I have to keep doing this for reporters who can't look things up. Existing Washington state law and school district policies require students to undergo a routine physical examination prior to participation in interscholastic sports, which includes documentation of the student's sex assigned at birth. This established requirement, that means it's already established for people who can't read, provides a reliable and medically verified basis to determine a student's biological sex. It's literally paragraph 1 and paragraph 2. Gentlemen who listen to the show, you get a gender exam every time you go to the doctor. It isn't pleasant. Either you're like me and you make a joke about it, or you sit there and bear it quietly. What's the joke usually? All right. He goes, okay, I got to check your whatever now. And you go, okay, doc, but if I feel 2 hands on my back, we know we got a problem here, or something like that, right? It's always off color. It's always inappropriate. It's always awkward. Nobody wants to do it. Happens every single time. You know why? So you can check for prostate cancer, hernias, and all this other kinds of stuff. That's what you have to do. These exams happen. Women go to gynecologists. These are things you have to do. I'm getting to the age where I have to have a camera shoved somewhere. Okay, these are unfortunately the things you have to do to make sure you stay in good health. You do it every time you go to the doctor. So I pulled up some of these forms. Because apparently the left says, oh my God, you're going to be subjected to this physical examination that, guess what, you do every time you get a physical. Do you know that my kids, when they wanted to play sports, guess what they had to do? Go to the doctor, get the form, send in the form. We almost had an issue with my daughter this year. Why? For some reason, the forms that she had were out of date to go on her summer program to Israel. So we had to take her to the doctor like 2 days before the plane was about to take off, get the form because apparently it expired like 3 days before the trip. So we had to go get an emergency appointment to get the forms, to send her the forms so she could go on a trip to Israel. This is what you have to do. It's part of being a parent. It's part of being a kid. Here is the form from the Washington Interscholastic Athletic Association. Ready? Complete and sign this form. Name, date of birth, date of examination, sports, sex assigned at birth. How do you identify your gender? Now, why did I pick the wokest form I could find? Because it still distinguishes between the sex that you were born with and how you identify, because guess what? You can identify as a girl, but if you have testicles, you are at risk for testicular cancer. You are at risk for prostate cancer. You are at risk for things boys get that girls don't. I have noticed a massive increase in the amount of testicular cancer cases among women these days because there's a lot of people who are not women who are identifying as women. Yes, we can argue over the stupidity of sex assigned at birth and the phraseology, but still recognize that on one of the wokest forms of the wokest state in our country for sports, it still recognizes there is a difference between biological men and biological women. That's simple. You know what? That's just the generic form for the state. Let's go to a woker school district, shall we? Seattle Public Schools Participation Evaluation History Form. Name, exam date, date of birth, gender. That's it. This is how easy it is. This is on every form. This one cracks me up, though. Kevin's going to giggle a little bit. Medical questions. Ready? This is question number 18. Do you have groin or testicle pain or a painful bulge or hernia in the groin area? Okay. Why is that funny? Because I don't think a lot of girls are going to be filling out parts of that, right? We all can acknowledge this. This is ridiculous that we are even having this conversation. You know what? Seattle Public Schools isn't woke enough. Let's go to Olympia Public Schools, shall we? Pre-participation physical exam. Complete and sign this form with your parents if younger than 18 before your appointment. Date of examination, sport, name, date of birth, sex assigned at birth. How do you identify your gender? It's literally a carbon copy of the Washington Interscholastic Athletic Association form. And yet, when you go to this Como News article, the initiative, if passed, would require students to undergo a routine physical examination prior to participation in interscholastic sports, which includes documentation of the student's sex assigned at birth. We already do that. But they are trying to make it sound like some creepy coach is going to have all the girls parade before him in the locker room so he could check things out like that scene in History of the World with the Queen. You all know what I'm talking about, with the Empress. Kevin doesn't watch History of the World. He has no clue what I'm talking about. He doesn't like Mel Brooks movies. Anyway, this is how they lie. Take things out of context, make up stuff, make it sound creepy. And you are going to hear it from now until Election Day. Oh, those Republicans. Oh, Brian Haywood, blah, blah, blah. They want to look at this, that, and the other thing. It is a lie. And every single parent who thinks about this for 10 seconds can acknowledge it is a lie. But when you don't have the facts on your side, all you do is make up lies. And that's exactly what the left is doing because these are 80-20 issues. According to all recent polling, 80% of Americans say boys should not be competing in girls' sports. So they have to overcome it, and they have to make this whole thing sound creepy. So that's what they're going to do from now until Election Day. Just wait till the campaign ads start running. The campaign ads are going to be girls going, I just wanted to play in sports, but my coach was going to be looking at my... Just watch. They will do that. Never mind the fact that they're ignoring the girls who, in one case, allegedly got sexually violated by one of these boys who was wrestling against her. The girls who lost championships, lost scholarships, lost trophies, lost races to boys They won't tell you those stories. Instead, they'll hire actresses and they'll have them up here. That's what they're going to do. It is not a ban on transgender students competing. It is here's where you compete according to your biological sex. And yet they publish this. And yet they ran with this. And they're not the only news outlet to do so. We have documented almost every single news outlet in town has done the exact same thing. I just expect a little bit more from Como News, which is why I am so disappointed. Right before the weekend started, Democrats put out a video on TikTok. This is from the official Washington Democrats TikTok account. And basically, because they don't have any of the facts on their side, they lie about everything. This is one of their official spokespeople talking about the initiatives.
Hi, everyone. It is looking increasingly likely that mega millionaire Brian Haywood has successfully bought his way onto the ballot with an initiative that would repeal the historic millionaire's tax. Let's remember, the millionaire's tax...
Stop. How did he buy his way onto the ballot? Did he bribe somebody? Did he do that? How did he bribe his way onto the ballot? I believe that's libel and slander. Slander is spoken, libel's in print. This happens to be online and it's got subtitles, so it might actually be both. Nothing about what that person said is true, but if they can make it sound like the millionaire bought his way onto the ballot to keep his millions, that's what they're going to try and do. They won't tell you the fact that there is language in the income tax, which says they are going to keep building their own Washington Department of Revenue as their own IRS to tax you, spending millions of dollars to do so despite any legal action. They are just going to keep building this thing bigger and bigger and bigger. They will not tell you that Democrats refused to pledge in any way, shape, or form that they will stop this thing from taxing anybody who makes less than $1 million a year. They will not. Bob Ferguson literally had a press conference last week where he was asked point blank and he dodged the question because they plan on taxing every single one of us. You don't hire hundreds of Department of Revenue agents unless you plan on doing that very thing. They're creating their own IRS. This is all they have. All they have is the lies because the actual truth, if they admitted it, they never win. One Democrat, Larry Springer, during a forum last year, did admit that, yeah, the Democrats were probably going to put the tax on everybody. And no Democrat in leadership will acknowledge it. But that is exactly what they're going to do. They refuse to insert language into the bill that would have prevented them from lowering the threshold on the taxes. They are lying about everything because they know if Washingtonians understood what was going on, they would never win on their own agenda. So, my friends, you got your ballots in the mail. The reason the initiatives are not on them yet is because they're for the general election. If you want my voter's guide, it's up at kvi.com right now. If you didn't hear the announcement on Friday, if you text the word VOTE, V-O-T-E, to 206-421-5757, I will send you my voter's guide. Text the word VOTE, V-O-T-E, to 206-421-5757, and you can get my voter's guide. But the more important thing than my voter's guide is that you have to be ready to push back on these smears. You have to be ready to push back on these lies. Respectfully, politely. You don't have to be as crass as I just was in this last segment. Instead, you just say, it's not banning transgender athletes. It's just saying boys have to compete in boys' sports and girls have to compete in girls' sports. Do you have a problem with that? And flip it back on the other person. And then when they say the physical examination thing, you say, do you remember when you went to school and you wanted to play a sport and you had to fill out that form about physical examinations and you had to actually go for your physical before that? They still do that today. That's all we are talking about here. Something that already happens. And watch the person's argument just absolutely melt away. You have to be an advocate for these issues. It's not enough to just vote anymore. The Democrats are counting on you being silent and being worried about being called a bigot or a racist or a homophobe or whatever term they will invent today to try and push these things across the finish line. Don't let them do it. Keep telling truth to power. Keep calling it out, and that's how you win. Up next, my friends, we see what happens when we lose, when somebody like Katie Wilson is mayor of Seattle and is about to go on a spending binge of money she doesn't have, which means she's coming after you for it. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. You remember the story about Denny Blaine Park, the unofficial nude beach in Seattle, where apparently the people on that beach were doing a little bit more than just public nudity, and the whole thing went to court because the residents said we're tired of dealing with this, and the locals said this is the traditional, ancient heritage land of the LGBTQIA community. You remember this nonsense? Well, the judge gave a ruling last week, which was basically a split the baby kind of ruling, and everybody declared victory. So, according to Como News, a King County Superior Court judge has ruled that the conditions and ongoing unlawful activity at Seattle's Denny Blaine Park constitute a public nuisance, ordering the city to take steps to improve safety and accessibility at the waterfront. Okay, so what he basically ruled is he's not closing the park, but Seattle PD, Seattle officials have to do more to make sure that everybody can go there without crime, without all the other stuff that happens at this court. So the court issued a permanent injunction requiring the city to take concrete steps to address conditions at the park. So what exactly does that mean? According to the court's findings, ongoing nudity and lewd conduct substantially interfered with nearby residents' use and enjoyment of their properties. The judge also found the city's actions and inaction contributed to the public nuisance. Among the court findings were that Seattle Parks and Recreation employees were instructed not to confront people engaging in lewd conduct, not to collect photo or video evidence, and to remain in their vehicles. Well, to be fair, I don't think park rangers should be dealing with this. Isn't this an issue for the police? I'm just kind of curious about that, right? That's what we should be doing? The ruling also cited Seattle Police Department data showing Denny Blaine Park generated the highest number of police calls related to lewd conduct compared with other areas. And in Seattle, that's a tough one to beat, my friends. You got that all over the place. The court further found the city treated complaints from Denny Blaine Park differently because of concerns about bias complaints and potential lawsuits, and that the city attorney's office did not actively prosecute those cases. Well, to be fair, does the Seattle City Attorney's Office prosecute any cases? The judge concluded the city's actions and omissions created an environment that attracted people engaging in unlawful conduct, but declined to close the park, and said he hopes the city, neighborhood residents, and others will work together to implement the court's orders and restore public confidence in the park. Well, if everybody's claiming victory, I'm not sure how that's going to work out. So you can continue being with all the nakedness, but where do you define lewd? How do you define lewd? How do you define crude behavior? Is that what it is? Meanwhile, Seattle is planning on spending $110 million to help build, preserve, and expand affordable rental housing. Okay, by spending $110 million, it is no longer affordable rental housing. Why? You didn't get that money from nowhere. You tax people for it. So if their taxes go up, then guess what? It becomes more unaffordable. But also, if the city is now in the housing market, that means you now have somebody with unlimited funds, because they will always just tax you more, now competing when you want to buy a house. I love how everybody's focus is on the hedge funds. Oh my God, the hedge funds are buying all these houses. They don't talk about Homeless Inc. in all these cities buying all these houses. They have figured out we can spend whatever we want. Dow Constantine, former King County executive, was notorious for this. He would just go buy a hotel, triple its value, and say we're going to use it for the homeless. One of them that he bought 6 years ago is finally being opened now. These properties just sit there, and then they have to do the meth remediation. And then maybe they'll put some people into it, and then we have what happened with the Red Lion in Renton, where this hotel became the number one source of crime in the area, destroyed local businesses, caused all kinds of problems, so much so the Red Lion ripped their logo off the thing because they didn't want to be affiliated with this insanity. The most 911 calls in the area were going to that Red Lion hotel. Do you ever consider that maybe we're continuing to fund this problem by continuing to push this nonsense? The city of Seattle's Notice of Funding Availability will support the development of new affordable housing units, rehabilitation of existing units, acquisition of properties to expand and maintain Seattle's affordable housing stock. The city also said it expects to release a round of preservation and debt restructuring by the end of 2026. Seattle Socialist Mayor Katie Wilson said in a press release, housing affordability is the cornerstone of my housing agenda. These investments are essential to ensuring that people with the lowest incomes can live in this city, your city. Stop. If I can't afford to live somewhere, I don't live there. I can't afford to live on Mercer Island. I can't afford to live in Medina. I can't afford to live in Bellevue, so I don't live in those places. I live where I live. I can't afford to live in Beverly Hills. There's nowhere that says you get to live where you can't afford to live. I would love a penthouse apartment in Manhattan. I think that would be great. You know what? Let's make it closer to home. I would love a penthouse apartment in Belltown. Maybe not Belltown. Maybe we'll make it more like Soto area so I could see into the stadiums. Something like that. Guess what? Can't afford it, so I don't buy one. But here, what Katie Wilson is saying, it's just a housing affordability problem. That is not the issue at all. How do I know? Because as I was driving to work today, I went a different way than I normally do. And I went through Georgetown and I went through Soto. And I went specifically past the stadiums. Isn't it amazing how now that the World Cup is over, you can see the Lumen Field sign clearly again on the side of the stadium, but also Seattle nature is healing itself. The RVs, the tents, it's all coming back and coming back with a vengeance. This is a drug problem. This is a mental health problem. This is not a housing affordability problem. And by addressing it as a affordability problem, you are not actually addressing the drug crisis. You're not addressing the alcohol crisis. You're not addressing the mental health crisis. You're not addressing the crime crisis. But worse than that, by spending all this money, you are making things unaffordable for everybody you're claiming to make everything affordable for. Up next, my friends, things are about to get a lot more affordable for the U.S. government. Looks like the Trump administration is taking steps to defund the UN. It's the greatest day ever. Also, Mamdani says he's going to arrest Netanyahu if he comes to New York City. What craziness is this? We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. New York City jihadi mayor Zoran Mamdani said his administration is actively exploring whether the city has the legal authority to arrest Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. Can we stop right here for a second? On what charge? On what crime? If you throw out the bogus charges from the International Criminal Court, the U.S. doesn't hold by them, Israel don't hold by them, and they're in the process of being defunded. So you have no authority with which to do so. Second of all, anybody out there see Lethal Weapon 2? We've all seen Lethal Weapon 2, right? It's the one with the South Africans where they are doing all this awful stuff. Why? Because they know they can get away with it because they're working for the consulate and they have diplomatic immunity.
That's the movie where I learned what a Krugerrand is.
Yes.
We had so many commercials on our radio stations about bringing in Krugerrands and seeing how much they're worth. And I was like, what is that? And then you watch Lethal Weapon 2 and you're like, oh, okay.
I think I learned about apartheid from that. I think I learned from
that too.
I really don't think I had any idea it was going on until that whole scene with Joe Pesci. But you're black. I think I had no idea what that was until that movie came out. See, Lethal Weapon, educating the masses. I learned about internment from Karate Kid. I learned about apartheid from Lethal Weapon 2. Anyway, you cannot arrest foreign diplomats unless there's like really good reason to do so. And even then, you have to go through proper channels. Third, a few years ago, my wife and I happened to be in Israel around the time where it was for a wedding. It was around the time COVID was breaking out around the world. I remember this. So a friend of ours said to us, they said, hey, Bibi Netanyahu is having a campaign rally. He was running for re-election. Do you want to come? And we like politics. And we said, sure. And they said, well, just in case, Mike Huckabee is going to be there. And we're like, yeah, let's go. We want to hear Huckabee. We want to meet Huckabee. We want to see Netanyahu. Okay. Some attack happened that night, and Israel had to defend itself, so Bibi's running late, so they have to stall. And they're bringing up every speaker in the world to try and stall for time. It was kind of funny. Anywho, when Bibi finally enters, I don't know if you've ever noticed when Bibi enters a room, you know that when President Trump enters a room, he's got the Secret Service all around him. And I did notice that when he entered the RNC, basically right near where we were, he enters the RNC, and you could tell that his Secret Service protection detail got a bit of an upgrade after the Butler assassination attempt. Those guys look like they could kill you with their pinkies. Those were the toughest looking Secret Service agents I've ever seen in my life. The Israeli ones around Bibi, those guys, they look like they could kill you with a look. And this isn't U.S. versus America. It's not that. I am telling you, the Secret Service or whatever they call them in Israel that follows Bibi Netanyahu around, I was scared to look wrong in their direction, these guys. You know the Secret Service agents, they always stand there kind of like robots with the sunglasses and the ear piercings, earpieces, and they're like, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, polite, nice, until they have to kill you, right? These guys from Israel look like they would kill you if just you breathed on them wrong. So you're going to have the NYPD go head-to-head with those guys. That's going to be fun to watch. What is Zoran Mamdani doing? He's trying to broadcast how woke he is, how anti-Semitic, how anti-Jewish he is. That's the whole shtick. Look, the General Assembly happens every year. If we're going to start arresting people, how about we start with, I don't know, some of the rulers from Iran, like the Ayatollah. If we're going to start arresting people, maybe the guys from China who literally have people in concentration camps. If we're going to start arresting people, we could go around the world and find out all these atrocities that are happening. But you want to start with Israel? Now, what's funny to me, Zoran Mamdani put up this tweet that he's going to do it, right? The comments are funny. There's the sprinkling of Israel supporters or whatever, but they're used to Mamdani by now. And there's a bunch of people who are calling him a communist because that's what they do. But overwhelmingly, it's his own base going, you're just talking a big game. You're not actually going to do it. There's no way you're actually going to do it. It's his own base calling him out. Because even they know he's got no legal authority to do it, and they want him to do it. But they know he's not going to. So it'll be fun to watch if he tries. Meanwhile, other news with the UN, according to the Daily Wire, the Trump administration is highlighting more than $1 billion in United Nations budget cuts over the past 6 months as part of its ongoing push to reform the international organization. On June 30th, all 193 UN member states approved a peacekeeping budget of approximately $5.1 billion for the coming fiscal year. Okay, I would love to know how the UN spends its peacekeeping budget. You know, the UN was established to make sure there were no more wars. You guys have done a bang-up job. It was established after World War II to make sure there were no more wars. How many wars have there been in the meantime? Do we need to do Korea, Vietnam, First Gulf War, Second Gulf War, Afghanistan, War on Terror, War on Drugs, October 7th, Russia, Ukraine. Those are just the ones I can think of off the top of my head. You guys have done just a bang-up job. Really, a bang-up job with that. What are we spending this money on? So this figure, even at $5.1 billion, is a cut of about $550 million, or 9.7%. Combined with a 15% reduction to the UN's regular budget approved in December, U.S. officials say the agreements total more than $1 billion in savings on assessed budgets. Assessed budgets are funded through mandatory contributions from member states, calculated largely based on the size of their economies. How very socialist of you. So we have to pay more because our economy is good? That makes sense. Maybe if they wouldn't be doing terrorism, they'd have more money for their economy in places like Iran. Just a thought. U.S. Ambassador for UN Management and Reform, Jeff Bardos, described the results as significant. He said, we've achieved over $1 billion of savings in 6 months, which is unprecedented. Any one cut would be unprecedented. The totality of the reforms is monumental. You know what? I just get a little pit in my a little bad feeling in the pit of my stomach, which is as soon as a Democrat comes in, they're going to bring all this back. They're just going to say, yeah, let's fund everything because they believe the best way to solve any problem is just throw money at it. Just keep throwing the money at it. If we discovered life on Mars tomorrow, the Democrats would go, those Martians. We know they've existed for millions of years without us, but we need to give them aid. Quickly, send aid to Mars as fast as you possibly can. This is why, as excited as I am about space exploration, I'm a little concerned what it's going to do for the U.S. economy and the U.S. budget at the same time. You know what I'm more concerned about, though? The health, especially the mental health of the kids in our country. When we come back, a video that puts it all on display, that what you're seeing happen in schools is a massive mental health crisis, not anything else. We'll have that insane audio for you when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So usually the first thing I do on Saturday night when the Sabbath is over is I run to my phone to see what's going on. And apparently I missed this viral video until, I don't know, this morning or something, which happened over the weekend. I had to drive out to Whistling Jack's on Saturday night. Do you know where that is, Kevin? It's out in Natchez, Washington, which is like past Crystal, out near Mount Rainier National Park. It's out there. Really beautiful place. If you haven't been out there before, recommend you go. Relative of mine, actually, one of the investors in it. But really, really great place. Check it out. Anywho, so when I was out at this place, no cell phone reception, unless I was at the lodge. And I spent a lot of time on the river and going hiking and things like that. It was really just a relaxing weekend. So I missed this video entirely. I think the first time I saw it was maybe late last night, early this morning. So you've probably seen this video by now if you're on social media at all. There's this viral video of a 27-year-old University of Central Florida student named Jared Vick, who's screaming at a police officer after a cop arrived on campus for an unrelated call. Let's be clear about this for a second. The cop is not there for this person. So this blue-haired student who look like a troll doll that got rained on. That's really what they look like. They look like one of the old 1970s, 1990s when it was retro. Troll dolls that got rained on. This person starts having an absolute meltdown, and it lasts 8 minutes. Now, I'm not going to play all 8 minutes for you. Luckily for us, the Daily Mail did a little montage of some of the best parts of this absolute breakdown. But if you listen very carefully, this person is losing their minds over the police. This person is losing their minds over their gender pronouns. And this kind of shows you the problem with what's going on with some of our students today.
What's the problem?
Why do you let those kids get away with this? They are not supposed to be here!
Can we get another unit to deal with Jay Lee here? He is having a breakdown.
Shay! Please!
Pepper spray.
Please! Just stop pointing the pepper spray at me! I will calm down if you do that! Stop threatening me!
Yeah, lower your voice.
Leave me alone!
I understand that. He needs
Okay, enough of that. This person is having a breakdown because the officer keeps saying he and not she. This person is absolutely losing their minds because they saw a police officer on campus. The police were not there for them. The police, you literally hear them call on their walkie-talkie, can we have somebody out here to deal with this person or whatever it was that they said? And this person, Jared, absolutely loses their mind. This affirming nonsense doesn't fix anything. If somebody is identifying the wrong way, if somebody's unhappy, you don't say, yes, let me affirm you. You say, how can I help you? How can we fix this? If somebody has a drug problem, you don't say, hey, let's give them more drugs. Oh, wait, that's what we do here in the city of Seattle. If somebody's an alcoholic, you don't say, oh, that's a real shame. Let's go to the bar. You don't do that. If a teenage girl is cutting herself, you don't say, can I get you a bigger knife? That's not what you do. You say, how do we solve the problem? How do we address the problem? But in the age of affirming everything, this is what you get. Also, this isn't in Seattle. This is in Florida, where we like to think everything's normal. It's not. Just Google your birthday and the word Florida, man, and you'll see that everything's not normal in Florida. As much as we love free America, not the most normal place. But this is something that is all too common. This video shows the problem. When you buy into all this craziness of cops are evil, cops are pigs, or whatever else that this person spewed, you get this. Look, the blue hair that looks like the troll doll who got rained on, you're not kidding anybody. You're not fooling anybody. The officer kept calling you he. He wasn't being disrespectful. You're obviously a dude, no matter how much you are losing it. It's crazy what the kids are doing these days. And I know that makes me sound like a boomer when I say, here's what the kids are doing. But when I was a kid, we didn't have any confusion about this kind of stuff. That's a dude. That's a gal. That's not your mother. It's a man, baby. There's a new startup called Ditto. Have you heard about this? This is crazy. It's a new AI that pairs college students with real-world dates. Right? That's what it is. Founded in 2024 by UC Berkeley dropouts, the company based in Northern California asks users to complete an in-depth questionnaire before its AI analyzes personalities, interests, schedules, and preferences to create weekly matches. Now, this is a whole thing where now you have AI doing the matchmaking, AI doing the dating. Kevin, I would not want to date in this world today. I really would not. Hunt thy own meat, I say, where now you don't have, this is a little crazy for me. The whole swipe left, swipe right kind of thing, not for me.
We've got several people in the office that are, doing that right now.
Of age, yes. Yeah.
And it's terrifying, and it's horrible to hear all the stuff they have to go through and all the things they have to do before even meeting an actual human being.
Right. Now you're talking to an AI before meeting a human being. Why don't you just skip a step? Get the AI girlfriend or whatever it is. I think there were movies about that. Was it called Weird Science? Isn't that the first version of AI girlfriend, Weird Science? No, in seriousness, what happened to just being social? Why don't you just go out into the world? Oh, there's an event. Or, oh, there's a bar. Or there's a trivia night at a bar. I like Star Wars. It's a Star Wars trivia night. Maybe I'll meet some people there. Maybe I should go.
Because collectively, they've all decided not to go out places, so you can't go and meet anybody someplace anymore. And I heard someone say the other day it was weird because someone approached them when they're out somewhere. And I was like, well, how else would they meet you?
Yes.
Well, you don't do that out in the wild.
You don't. That's what we did. That's what you do.
Yeah.
There's a pretty girl at a bar. Hey, I'm going to buy you a drink, pretty girl. Go away, scumbucket.
Yeah.
Or, hey, sit down. Nice to talk to you, right? Isn't that how it used to work? Forget the bar thing. You're at an event. You go, hey, Bob, I see you're talking to that girl. Is she single? Why, no, she's not. That's my girlfriend. Oh, sorry, Bob. Okay. Hey, is that girl single? Oh, she's my sister. Don't you go near my sister. Whatever it is. That's how it used to work. Don't work that way no more. When we come back, my friends, the Kraken CEO and a former governor are now warning the Democrats about what they're doing to businesses. That plus your chance to take the trip or keep the cash. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, an illegal alien was busted in Renton for torturing his victim. Tell you all about who Jay Inslee, Bob Ferguson, and Nick Brown want to keep here in Washington State. But before we get to any of that, it is time, my friends, for your chance to take the trip or keep the cash. That's right. Today, we are giving away your chance to go to Southern California on a theme park trip. That means Disneyland and Universal Studios. That's right, my friends. Or you can choose $3,000 in cold, hard cash. Now, all you have to do in order to be entered to win these fantabulous prizes is text the word I give you to the number I give you. Not your name, not your phone number, not your address. Not Ari, looks like you got some color this weekend because you're watching over on the live stream. Nope, just the word I give you. Today's word is magic, as in Disney magic, as in the Magic Kingdom. M-A-G-I-C. That's M-A-G-I-C. Text the word magic to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Thank you to our in-house Pink Floyd cover band for showing up every single day to help us out. Now, you know what else is magic here in Washington State? The fact that if you go on strike, now you get money from Washington taxpayers. Yeah, talk about waste of taxpayer money. Now, if somebody goes on strike, unions go on strike, they get paid with your taxpayer dollars. You know, this is what union savings are for. This is what union accounts are for. And what used to happen was if the owner of the business waited out the union, then guess what? Eventually, the union people need the money. They're not being paid by the union fund anymore. And guess what? That was a bargaining tool because the owner knew they had to go back to work eventually. Now they are being paid by Washington taxpayer dollars, which means now the union can wait out the business owner indefinitely, basically indefinitely. And now it's a huge problem. I would just say, just start firing people. Just start firing people. Do what Ronald Reagan did with the air traffic controllers in the 1980s. But this one cracks me up. Unionized workers at the Seattle International Film Festival cinemas plan to continue a walkout Saturday as contract negotiations with Seattle International Film Festival leadership remained ongoing. The 13 union member, there's 13 people in this, I guess it's the guy who makes the popcorn, walked off their shifts Friday ahead of a 3 p.m. screening at Seattle International Film Festival Cinema Downtown. That's the theater, which used to be Cinerama, which the city of Seattle paid $1 million to keep afloat, $1 million. And now they're going on strike so they can throw more of your money at it. Do you know the problem with the movie industry right now? There's a few problems. I know everybody's all excited about the Odyssey. The buzz is good on the Odyssey. Apparently the woke stuff ain't so bad about the Odyssey that people thought it was. And the movie's so good, it actually kind of outperforms the woke stuff, so people aren't paying attention to that. But you got a bigger problem. Kevin and I were just discussing this before the show. The new trailer for Doomsday came out today, right? Doomsday, latest Marvel Avengers movie. And I looked at it and I said, if I wasn't getting invited for free for a press screening, would I just wait for Disney Plus? That is me. That is the guy who, before my kids were old enough, I would take the kids from the youth group to the midnight screenings of Captain America or Iron Man when they performed. That's me. The guy who, when his kids were old enough, took them to the midnight screenings of when these movies performed. That's what we did. I love the Marvel movies. And I'm just looking at this thing and going, meh. Do I really need to go? Now, mind you, it's cool to see. Sorry, spoiler alert, because they put it in the trailer of who shows up at the end of the trailer. I'll give you a hint. He's a guy with a shield that you thought was done with all this.
Yeah, I don't know why you're trying to cover that up. It's
in the trailer.
But you know, a lot of that stuff is like,
yeah,
they're going to button hook you, and then you go and watch it, and you're like, oh, that wasn't what that thing was that they showed in the trailer.
It's a dream sequence. What? Yeah.
But here's the deal, though. The industry's having a record-breaking year currently. Are you aware of that?
I am aware it's having a record-breaking year. But why is it having a record-breaking year, Kevin?
You got me.
Okay, so here's the thing. I was looking up at this thing.
Give me your conspiracy theory.
It's not a conspiracy theory.
I've heard that Gen Z is actually going back to the theater.
So they're starting to go back to the theater, but every time I go to the movie theater, they're empty. Okay, and I'm not talking about the press screenings. I'm talking about when I go to the other movies, when I just go, people are just not as interested in going to the movies anymore. I think it's record-breaking because they're not accounting for inflation in those totals. So you talk about the amount of money people are spending. How much did it used to cost us to go to those movies? Look, if I'm wrong and they are accounting for inflation, then I'm shocked. Because I don't know how they're doing that when movies are in theaters for shorter amount of time. There's not as many movies people want to go see. I'm having trouble wrapping my head around this record-breaking number unless you're just looking at total receipts, not, hey, let's adjust it for inflation.
Yeah, I don't know, but they're saying it's projected to hit $10 billion this year.
That's the thing.
For the first time since 2019.
Yes. And that's the thing that I can't wrap my head around it. How many movies were there this year that we really want to go see, even for movie reviews? We used to go almost every single week. We were going to a movie almost every single week. Now I get those press screening things. I'm like, do I really want to go to this or do I not want to go to this?
Yeah.
Right? That's the problem. There's not as much stuff coming out of Hollywood.
But you still got the fourth Spider-Man movie coming out.
Yes.
And do I really care about that? Not really, but I know there's a bunch of people that do. It's the same with the Doomsday stuff. It's the same with Toy Story 5, ladies.
Which, did
Five,
they end that on number 3?
Yeah.
They had the big, nice ending, and then they had another sentimental ending on number 4?
Yeah.
And now there's number 5.
Yeah, I heard Quentin Tarantino in an interview say, you leave it at 3. It's like the perfect ending ever, especially to like quote-unquote cartoon movies.
Yes.
He was like, but he's never seen past that because he's like, it was such a perfect ending.
Yes.
But I'm not big into that. What is it? Pixar stuff. Just not my thing. I don't have kids.
Right. Well, here's
every
the thing.
now and then I'll catch, and it's clever. They're funny. They're well done. But do I choose to go to the theater and see that stuff? No.
My kids also outgrew it. Right. My kids are older now. If I said to my kids, "Hey, you want to go see the newest Toy Story?" They'd be like, "Dad, when's the next Avengers coming out?"
Yeah, but also the way those movies are crafted, usually they're pretty entertaining for adults too.
Yeah.
That's how they always kind of became bigger than your regular cartoon movie. But there's so much of that stuff now.
Right, but also the thing about being crafted for adults, it's I can sit through this and giggle a few times. I would not choose to go to this unless the kid wants to go to this thing. Did you see the halftime show for the World Cup yesterday? What were the Muppets doing there?
I don't know.
I mean, funny, random. I don't know what Madonna was doing there either.
I don't know why any one of them were there.
I just happened to be at the bar
why was
whistling
Tom Cruise
jacks.
doing some sort of stupid intro
I don't know.
on a pedestal?
I don't know what
and
this
then
was.
a recorded vignette of him essentially doing the same thing.
Are we trying to make
What are we doing?
AI? Let's just throw as many things as we can. Like, hey, AI, design a Super Bowl halftime show for us. Shakira, didn't know she was still a thing.
What is it? Word of the year, slop. That's like the word of the year, and the word of the year last year, slop. Because you just continue to get slop served up. And you're right. I was watching it with some friends, and I said, are they like legally obligated to have Shakira do something at every FIFA?
No, she's international. It's because she's international.
That's
Let's
what
just
my friend
bring
said,
her on out. Yeah, like the K-pop demon hunters or whatever those people were. Who are you people?
I don't know who you are.
I don't know what you are. I only know the term demon hunters or whatever it is because of my nieces and nephews. They said something. I don't even know what that is.
You know, they're crunching the numbers too. They're like, okay, we put Madonna in there, and that covers all the people that were born in this year. And if we put some K-pop in there, it covers this generation.
Yeah.
And if we put Shakira, it covers. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, it was not fun. Anywho, why'd I go off on this tangent? Why did we bring this up in the first place? The movie industry ain't the same. And even if industry's having a major breaking record, it's because they've also cut costs. How many people are actually working at the movie theaters now when you go there? The person who's taking your tickets and the people behind the concession stand, and there's still nobody really behind the concession stand except for the guy who's actually giving you the popcorn. Half the time you're using the kiosks for all this, right?
You know what I love too is how, especially downtown here, we have movie theaters that are like 2 levels, 2 stories, and they used to have a concession stand on that second story.
Yes.
And it's just shut down. And in fact, one of the ones downtown, they've just like covered it up with like those stand-up cardboard posters. It's like,
Not
turn
even
the lights
pretending.
out, put that over in front of it, and just like, we're never opening this again, ever.
That was Supergirl, right? So Supergirl I went to with my nieces, right? And my daughter, and I come out of the thing. And I remember walking past that thing and going, I remember when you could just grab a Coke.
Yep.
Like an impulse buy. I want another Coke,
Yep.
or I didn't get one beforehand. I'm just going to grab one here. That thing hasn't been open since COVID, I don't think.
No, and the worst is like when you go in there and your movie is on that second floor. It's
Yes.
up there. You go up the 2 flights of escalators or whatever. But when you hit that first concession stand, you're like, oh, that line's too crazy. I'm gonna go up to the next floor because that's where my movie is.
Yes.
Why would I wait in that line down here? And you get up there and it's just dark.
Because there's nobody working there no more.
Oh, I gotta go back
Gotta
down.
go all the way down, and maybe I'll go in the middle of the movie when I go to the bathroom because movie's not that great. I'll miss a little bit of it. So these guys are now getting your taxpayer dollars to protest for better wages working at Cinema City. Working at whatever it is downtown, Cinerama, working wherever, Cinerama, right. Working wherever it is. These are not meant to be full-time jobs. These are jobs that are meant for college kids, for high school kids, for middle school kids. These are not meant to be full-time careers. And you're protesting because the industry is drastically changing? You know, I walked into Best Buy the other day. I wasn't even there to buy anything. I happened to be next door. And I'm like, let's go see how the old Best Buy is doing in South Center. I walked in and I'm like, wow, there's nothing here anymore. I mean, half the place is under construction. They're redoing it, but it's just empty space where there used to be the DVD racks and empty space. There was one cool thing because normally you go in there. Now it's like, who wants to buy a security camera for your house? No, thank you. There was a TV, I kid you not, bigger than this wall. Bigger than the wall, the whole thing. And then I look at the price tag. I'm like, that's interesting. What is that going to be, like 10 grand or so? $100,000. Who's dropping $100,000 on a TV? Because, you know, in like 5 years, it's going to be like, yeah, that's like $10 at Costco, whatever it is. It's the size of this wall. I kid you not. Kevin, if you happen to be over in South Center, go look at it just to stand next to the thing, how big it is. But then I got a better question. Where are you going to put it? I mean, I got a man cave in my house. That sucker wouldn't fit. And if it did fit, I'd probably get nauseous from watching it. Be pretty cool, but I don't know how I'd even get in my house.
I was going to say you'd have to probably build your house up around it, right?
Yeah, but that's like building a boat in the basement. That's probably not the smartest thing.
No, but I mean, you're right, because it's like at some point they just don't fit through the doors.
No, I don't know how they do this. I mean, what, do you have to take the whole entryway of your house out so you can get the sucker in and then down the stairs or whatever? I don't even know. Anywho, so the industry is changing, economy is changing, things are changing around here. And yet the Democrats are still spending like there's a tech boom going on. And now Gary Locke, former governor of Washington. Last time I checked, Gary Locke wasn't a Republican, was he? Pretty sure he was the first of these Democrat guys. I have to go back and double check my history. But even Gary Locke is calling them out. There was an event for the Association of Washington Business Institute and the Washington Roundtable discussing the Economic Future Solutions Summit at the Hilton in SeaTac last week. Gary Locke, a Democrat, said this.
Because when that one-time money goes away, how are you going to continue that program? And then you create all this dissatisfaction and disappointment among the interest groups. So do you then raise revenues, whether it's taxes or revenues? Are you going to be able to cut other programs? Also, if you borrow money, where will you find the money? If you borrow money to pay for a program, where will you find the money to replenish or repay that fund? And then where are you going to find the money then to continue the program for which you borrowed that money? I think that the legislature has passed all these revenue programs, and some of it I support, but they still have a budget deficit. And they've already promised that all this new money is going to be spent for expansion of programs, and yet it looks like they're going to have to use this new money just to shore up existing programs. And so pretty soon, the voters are going to lose faith with policymakers and our leaders. I mean, we have these referendums or initiatives that are approved by the voters. We say it's going to be used for a certain type of program, and then 2 or 3 years later, they rob that program and use the money for something else. So pretty soon people are going to say, wait a second, I can't trust those folks, whether it's local government, state government, or whomever. We're voting for these things, we're approving these things, but then it becomes a bait and switch. And so pretty soon in the future, when we really have a really important program, will the voters be there to support it?
I don't know. The Washington voters are pretty dumb sometimes, right? And here's something else, by the way. There is one of these things on the ballot in the primary, my friends, and this is about a tax to fund the libraries in Seattle. Notice that most of the money is not going to the libraries. Talking about the bait and switch, you know what it's going to? The homeless programs in the libraries. You want the money for the homeless? Spend the money on the homeless. Don't say it's for the libraries when it's actually for the homeless and for drug addiction. You need to really reformat that whole internet cafe for the homeless situation we got going on, where they're mostly watching porn on the computers inside the library. We got to deal with that. The Center Square caught up with former Washington Governor Gary Locke after this event, and he added to what he said.
There's no budget discipline. They're taking one-time money and creating permanent programs without any thought as to how are they going to sustain that program when that one-time money goes away, or they're borrowing money from various accounts and not knowing how they're going to pay that back, and then how they're going to sustain that program that they borrowed the money for if and when they return that money back to the original fund. So I think spending is out of control in Olympia. They need much more discipline. They need to set priorities. And when they say that they're going to create a program and they ask the voters to approve of that particular program, they need to make sure that they don't take that money a few years later and spend it on something else, because then the voters lose faith, whether it's with their city government, county government, or state government. Well, already they've committed that source of money to various programs, but they're already facing a budget deficit 2 years from now. So what's going on? They say that this was necessary to balance the budget, but even with that money, they're facing a deficit. And will they even be able to use that money for the programs that they've promised the voters?
Exactly right. And that's a Democrat calling out the Democrats, because these new Democrats are socialists. They're not Democrats. Christine Gregoire, Gary Locke, and now Seattle Kraken CEO Todd Lewicki is now calling them out as well. He was at the same event. And he said, quote, "In my time, I have not felt as much fear in the business community as I feel today." According to the Washington State Standard, he added, "This isn't about the millionaire tax. This is about an insatiable appetite of spending beyond your means. I've been a lifelong Democrat. I'm telling the Democrat Party, it is time to wake up. We can be a blue state that has a fiscal plan. Today, we're a blue state without a fiscal plan." This is the CEO of the Kraken, which means he sees sponsors disappearing. He sees sponsors moving out of town, and this is one of the guys working to bring back the Sonics. Do you remember the holy hell I got from the Seattle sports community because I put out those documents from Ferguson's office showing that the Kraken ownership, who wants to be the Sonics ownership, was concerned about all these taxes and what it was doing to the economy, and investors leaving and companies leaving. And yet Bob Ferguson blazed ahead with that meeting with the NBA commissioner and wouldn't do anything about them, signed the income tax, signed the largest tax increase in Washington state history before that. The Democrats are doing this by design, whether it's because they want you on the government system, or whether it's because they're so addicted to spending, or both, or because they're so open-minded their brains have fallen out, or maybe all three. Whatever it is, this is on purpose. They are doing this on purpose, even though two well-respected Democrat governors have called them out for it, even though people who were previously the Washington Attorney General are calling them out for it. People who were previously Washington State Supreme Court justices are calling them out for it. The business community has called them out for it. Howard Schultz has written, 2-3 op-eds on the subject for the Wall Street Journal already, and now you've got the owner of the CEO of the Kraken calling them out as well. What will it take for them to listen? I don't think they actually care. The only thing they're going to understand is a lawsuit, or the only thing they're going to understand is the ballot box. That's it. They will not understand anything else. So people keep asking me, what do you think rock bottom is for Washington? I go, I thought it was the autonomous zone. I really did. Now I have no idea what rock bottom actually looks like, because they just keep plowing along and plowing along and plowing along. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends, including the fact that an illegal alien that Bob Ferguson, Jay Inslee, Nick Brown all wanted to keep here in the state has now been arrested for torture in Renton. Give you all the insane details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, my voter's guide is up at kvi.com. So if you're unsure who to vote for, you can text the word VOTE, V-O-T-E, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We will make sure to send it over to you. If you have a question, you can email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. A reminder, I have not put a recommendation every single race. Haven't had a chance to look at all of them. Some of them I am still exploring, and I will update it regularly. I also have to say something else. There are some great candidates out there that didn't make my list for whatever reason, and they reached out, and you know what they said? Hey, Ari, can we come on the show and make our case? Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? One or two of them, after talking to them this weekend, changed my mind a little bit. Brought up some new information. Always learning. See, I'm willing to admit when I have a change of heart, unlike our Democrat friends who are just running our economy into the dumpster, by the way. So, you want to be part of those conversations? Reach out. However, yelling at me via email will not get you anywhere. Some people who have lost multiple elections before and yell at me. Sorry, guys, not going to change my mind. There's one candidate, for example. This one did not yell at me. There's one candidate who is running for, I don't know, the third, fourth, fifth time since I've been here having a radio show. And you know what? After 2 or 3 times, I'm like, dude, you just ain't going to win anymore. So guess what? They're not in my guide. That person didn't yell at me. I gave them all the opportunity I possibly could, and unfortunately, they just didn't win. Look, you know what we're up against here in Washington State. Anyway, text the word VOTE, V-O-T-E, to 206-421-5757 for my voter's guide. Switching gears, this is the insanity that Bob Ferguson and that Jay Inslee and that Nick Brown and that so many others enabled around here. This one here. So, in Renton, Washington, detectives with the Renton Police Department say it's the worst case of torture they've ever seen, according to Fox 13. The suspect, 26-year-old Vipindeep Singh, pleaded not guilty during a court appearance last week. King County prosecutors charged him with 6 counts of domestic violence assault. Singh was arrested on April 8th after the victim was able to secretly text her sister in another state to call 911. Now, this happened in April. We're going to tell you why we're talking about this in a minute. Court documents say an officer did a welfare check. Upon finding their home unoccupied, located the defendant, contacted him, and observed the victim bleeding from her neck in the vehicle. She reported that on that particular night, he strangled her for what she believed to last 1 second, but impacted her ability to breathe, and resulted in a forensic nurse reportedly observing petechia, and that she had bent her left pinky toe back, which resulted in a fracture of her pinky. Charging documents describe daily assaults that left the victim with extensive injuries, including permanent damage to her ear, along with bruises, scratches, and burn marks across her body. Detectives say he controlled her completely, refusing to let her talk to anyone, taking her with him to work as a delivery driver. Prosecutors wrote the defendant had committed some of the most horrific atrocities that can be committed in private, and has isolated her, psychologically manipulated her, left physical scars and injuries that will never heal. His actions were deliberately cruel and served no other purpose than to engage in gratuitous violence and inflict an unfathomable amount of pain on this victim. A victim's advocate read a statement on the woman's behalf in court detailing the progression of the abuse. Quote, "I will keep telling my story and never give up. I will not keep silent when it pertains to domestic violence, as silence only encourages the tormentor. Vipindeep controlled every aspect of my life, what I wore, what I watched on my phone, on TV. He cut me off from my family. He called me every vile name possible. The beatings were violent. It all started with a slap, then 2 punches, 2 scratches, to bending my finger backwards all the way to breaking my arms with a hair straightener. My hands were bent way too many times every day. They are now not functioning. My hands are frozen. I was tortured repeatedly every day and night. The abuse went on for 2 years every day. I still fear for my life that if he is released from jail, he would hurt me or even kill me. I'm not able to sleep at night for fear of him being let out. Detectives say the victim has now been moved to a safe location. He remains in King County Jail on $1 million bail." Now, the fascinating thing about this, and why we're bringing this up today when this happened back in April, is according to an ICE spokesman, ICE filed a detainer on Vipindeep Singh, an illegal alien from India. We didn't know that little aspect of this beforehand, because what did the media call him, including Fox 13? Shall I read the headline for you? You can already guess. Renton, Washington man charged in gruesome torture, domestic abuse case. A Renton man, you say? He's from India. He's not from Renton. He entered the United States illegally in 2022 near Calexico, California, and is currently in removal proceedings. He's being held in the King County Regional Justice Center. So wait a second. This guy's been sitting there since April and is now in removal proceedings? I'm shocked they didn't let him go, because after all, we're a sanctuary city. We're a sanctuary state. This is the kind of person that Bob Ferguson, Nick Brown, Jay Inslee, all the other Democrats want to keep in state. This is the kind of person they want to keep here. And if not for their sanctuary state laws, if not for their sanctuary city laws, if not for their sanctuary county laws, none of this would have happened. This guy illegally entered the U.S., so that's on Joe Biden as well because it was in 2022. This guy illegally entered the U.S. and was given sanctuary in Renton, Washington. No Fox 13. He's not a Renton, Washington man. He's an Indian man. He never should have been here in the first place. And this is the kind of stuff that Democrats want happening in our city, in our county, in our state. They want more victims like this. I'm going to reach out to ICE after the show today, find out what other information we can get on this guy. But meanwhile, up next, my friends, a teacher who had really bad accusations against them was kept in the classroom for over 2 years. Plus, did you know that the head of one of our teacher unions has some allegations against her as well, and now they've been substantiated? We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. As we say all the time, predators go where there is prey, and there are far too many predators in our school systems. I was shocked I saw this story in the Seattle Times because normally they hide from these stories. But they have this story here about Sarah Santos' daughter, who started fourth grade in 2022, was dealing with a new special education teacher named David Sibley. Her daughter had long required learning accommodations and speech therapy, now with dyslexia identified among her challenges. Meadowvale Elementary had assigned Sibley to work with her. Soon her daughter was coming home saying Sibley kept rubbing her back, touching her hair, and then when she went and told the principal that her daughter felt uncomfortable, the principal allegedly told her that the teacher was just trying to be nice. She then said they brushed it off, and then it kept happening. Took a full year. 3 school workers reporting this guy's behavior, ranging from touching to sexual harassment of not just students but also staff, before the district even began investigating. Before they even began investigating, they allowed this guy to remain a classroom teacher for 8 months before he was put on leave, 20 months after the initial complaint. He was accused of sexually assaulting a 5th grader. Prosecuting attorney declined to press charges due to a lack of evidence. And this stuff, they kept the guy in the classroom. They kept this going on. Now, this went on for a total of 20 months. 20 months, according to the Seattle Times. And the district allowed it to go by for almost a year before they even started investigating what had happened. I am not going to read for you the more graphic examples, but there were several examples of what happened. And they didn't even pull the guy from the classroom. I'm reminded of Ian Golosh, that psychopath who was hanging up pictures of terrorists in his classroom. What did it take? A year before they actually even suspended the guy? And the guy might still be being paid with your taxpayer dollars because he keeps appealing his suspension. Then they terminated him. And then he's appealing the firing. This is how these schools operate now. It's really horrifying, by the way. Call the police first. Do the investigation. Nobody's going to be arrested if there's no there. Instead, they wait a year. It's like the case we heard about in the Puyallup School District with the girl who was wrestling, didn't know she was wrestling against a biological boy. And the school wouldn't investigate it, even though it was caught on camera, until people in the media started reaching out about the story. This is crazy. I love how the people on the left talk about the blue wall of silence, how cops won't rat on each other. And yet, look what they put up with from teachers. The double standard is insane. Meanwhile, here in Seattle Public Schools, remember we told you about this woman, Ibijoke Aduwu, who became the head of the teachers union, who was elected to be the head of the teachers union here in Seattle, even though there were some pretty serious allegations against her at the time. And while she was running for the job, she was on suspension because of the allegations. Well, now Seattle Public Schools investigation has concluded it was more likely than not that Special Education Association President Ibijoke Aduwu physically grabbed a special education student hard enough to leave bruises and substantiated additional allegations that she yelled at students, and yet remains president of the union representing roughly 6,000 district employees. The special education teacher at Rising Star Elementary in South Beacon Hill has been on paid administrative leave since December 2025, while Seattle Public Schools investigated allegations made by the family of a 3rd grade student with autism, a speech delay, and limited verbal communication. Yet during that time, she was able to run for and win election of president of the union, even with the investigation ongoing. According to Fox 13, the district's completed human resources investigation found that it was more likely than not that this person grabbed the student by the arm, causing bruises that the parents documented, later reported to the district. The report also substantiated allegations that this person yelled at students and found witness accounts supporting claims that children flinched when she approached them. So what else was going on in the classrooms? Other allegations, including claims that this person threw objects towards students and pulled a student's hair, were investigated but not substantiated due to insufficient evidence. maybe we should put cameras in classrooms. I know, just a thought. Maybe we should do that. If kids are flinching in a classroom, maybe there's an issue. The investigation was forwarded to Seattle Public Schools Human Resources Department for possible disciplinary action. The allegations first surfaced after the students report finding the bruises on their son's arm in October and then again in December. Because the kid's nonverbal, they had to use visual aids to get the story out of the kid. The student's father previously said, any movement towards him is received as if you're going to attack him. That's how messed up the kid was after what happened to him. Yet, this person continues being the president of the Seattle Education Association. This person was elected despite being suspended. As I say all the time, get your kids out of the public schools. Now, one of the reasons it's hard to get your kids out of the public schools is because how expensive private school is. Well, we've been talking for a while about the Trump administration initiative that would literally take millions of dollars from the U.S. government and use it to send kids as a scholarship tax credit to private school. But Bob Ferguson is refusing to enroll Washington. According to the Spokesman Review, the federal scholarship tax credit program would give taxpayers dollar-for-dollar tax reimbursements for donations made towards approved nonprofit scholarship organizations of up to $1,700. Students could then use these scholarships on educational expenses, school supplies, after-school programs, computers, tutors, transportation, even private school tuition. But Bob Ferguson has to opt in. And who controls Bob Ferguson? The teachers' unions. So he's refusing to do so. And he also only has until 2027, the end of the year, to opt into it. And you know the fact that he hasn't done so, even though some blue governors have, is because he is controlled by the teachers' unions. That's right. You could be saving money on your kids' education, but Bob Ferguson refuses to opt Washington into this program that could save you money. Up next, my friends, the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine has been completely compromised by the left, according to a new report. What happened to trust the science? Seems to be all politics now. Give you all details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. There's a brand new report out from the American Energy Institute, which reveals that the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine has been comprised by climate activist groups, left-wing dark money, and politicized leadership. The group, working with the Federal Judicial Center, embedded plaintiff-aligned positions on climate causation, attribution, liability into the reference manual on scientific evidence, a key guide that judges rely on. So basically what they're saying is, here's the science. So if somebody says they're doing something that affects the climate but is anti-science, you have to say, no, this is the actual proven science. But it looks like these far left groups were actually messing with the science, TM, copyright, patent pending, to get their agenda across. The report shows the manual sharply breaks from its supposed neutral rule, introduces a chapter on climate science that launders disputed theories central to climate litigation, endorses probabilistic and event attribution frameworks explicitly for courtroom use, frames skepticism of climate claims as bad faith or strategic manipulation, advances these ideas without disclosing authors or cited experts' ties to plaintiffs or law firms. It also cites Michael Berger, executive director of Columbia's Sabin Center, and of counsel Cher Edling, a leading plaintiffs' law firm in climate litigation. This is a lot of legal speak, but basically when somebody sues to stop one of these insane projects, the judges go, well, you don't really have a case. Follow the science. You're not following the science. And look, judges want to prove that they're all knowing, so they have this handy-dandy little guide because they don't know all this stuff. Now they just look in the little guide of what's proven, what's unproven science. And now if you go in there, they can go, sorry, your thing has no merit. This is what the science actually says, the science. The report also reveals connections to left-wing climate advocacy groups and dark money sources, including close to $600,000 from Arabella Advisors' new venture fund, $1.5 million from the CCP-linked Climate Works Foundation, $50,000 from the Soros-backed Tide Foundation, $4 million from Silicon Valley Community Foundation, a left-wing dark money source. What would be China's incentive to make sure that we keep going along with these insane climate projects? Well, number one, where are a lot of the batteries made? Let's start there. Number two, who sells a lot of electric cars? China. Number three, is this stopping them? If the U.S. says it's not going to do this certain project because it has an effect on the climate, China just keeps building whatever nuclear reactors, whatever coal reactors they have. They're going to keep doing that. Whatever coal power plants, whatever nuclear power plants China has, they're going to keep doing that. And if we lose our tactical advantage, we lose the war. It's like this insanity over data centers right now. We know this whole push against the data centers is really to benefit China. Why would you not want to have data centers in the U.S.? Okay, if you think power is a problem for the data centers, you say, if you want to install a data center, you got to pay this much towards more power because you're eating up this much power. Fine. Then guess what? Power gets cheaper for everybody. Oh, it's going to pollute stuff. Does your computer at home pollute? I'm asking, seriously, does it? Oh, the cooling towers. They're draining the cooling. Does your air conditioning system pollute right now? Does it? Does the air conditioning system of your office pollute right now? Does it do that? Oh, the cooling towers. It's all affecting the climate. No, you've bought into a whole bunch of goods by people like the ones behind these reports. Despite these issues, the organization continued to publish full version on the full version online. It comes at taxpayer expense. In 2024, federal agencies provided over $200 million, roughly 74% of the organization's external funding. It just goes to show how far the climate left will go to impose its agenda, according to former Rep. Jason Isaac. The question now is whether appropriators will act to halt the misuse of taxpayer funds, restore neutrality in judicial education, and prevent federal institutions from being used as instruments as climate warfare. This is super bad stuff, by the way, here, guys, all of this. In fact, President Trump even weighed in on this. President Trump said the National Academy of Sciences has historically published analytical scientific manuals expressly for our federal judiciary. Of course, the Academy has been run by radical left Democrats, says President Trump, who it turns out published fraudulent, biased, and misleading manuals on climate change. These bogus manuals were used by judges to decide massive climate change cases and have created huge losses across our country. These manuals have been totally discredited. Our nation's federal judges deserve facts and science, not political fraud and false science on climate. With this truth, I hereby order federal suspension and debarment officials to review this conduct. Our taxpayers should not be funding climate fraud, and judges should never have relied upon it. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. He's 100% right. He's 100% right. They have been trying to undermine America's energy dominance. And some of these reports are paid for by Soros. Some of these reports are paid for by the Chinese Communist Party. What are we doing here, guys? Really, this is crazy. Absolutely crazy. And who's been running our agenda here? These left-wing activist groups. What happened to the actual science? I love when you drive past a house and they say, in this house, we follow the science. Really? And then they say love is love and men can be women or whatever else they put on those signs, right? That's not science. That's not actual science. And then when they say, well, how do you know? You go, because I know what a boy is and I know what a girl is. And you guys don't believe in any of that. This is the nonsense they keep pushing forward, and they have tried to put it in all aspects of American life, even the judiciary, so they can continue getting their radical agenda. That's what they've been doing this whole time. Can you imagine if Kamala Harris had won that election? Can you imagine? I wonder how many car companies would be going out of business for the amount of them that were forced to make electric cars that didn't actually make the money, but they were forced to by all the climate insanity that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were pushing. Up next, final hour free-for-all, my friends. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories. Plus, I have the King County Voters Guide in front of me, my friends. And whew, this is a doozy. This may be the best one yet. We'll have all the crazy for you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free-for-all. Your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, you're going to have to text us today because our phone lines are still having issues. So text us at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Katie Wilson spending more money she doesn't have, and Trump defunding the UN finally. But before we get to any of that, one of my favorite things is reading the voter's guide. And I know you guys are going to go, Ari, you're such a nerd. Oh, my friends, if you don't read the voter's guide, you're not going to find candidates like David W. Blundstrom, who is running for United States Representative in the 7th Congressional District. Shall we? Excuse me here. Let's do this. Right. Okay. Education, BS. Oh, sorry, there's more to that. BS in ecology from Western Washington University. Also attended University of Alaska at Fairbanks. Okay. Here is his statement on why you should vote for him. I'm going to read this word for word. Jewerky. I'm sorry, the what? That was the first word in my voters pamphlet statement in 2016. People called me an anti-Semite, whatever that is. Then came the Gaza genocide. Now you know what I was talking about. Dude, I have no clue what you're talking about. I am more staunchly pro-Iran and anti-Israel than either of my two opponents from India. Moreover, I don't draw the line at Zionism, which sprouted in Seattle during World War II. I'm sorry. What? What is this? What is this? I'm also attacking, oh dear, here we go. This is going to be a little racist here. This is not me. Again, this is not me. I am reading out the voter's guide. You can see the voter's guide in the video stream. You can see I am reading this. I am also attacking brown collar crime. I think I know what he means by that. I believe workers deserve unions that are transparent, accountable, and responsive to their members. Did you know that Jimmy Hoffa was a Zionist? What? Sex crimes are far more common in corporate workspaces than most people realize. When I discovered a local corporation was forging employees' signatures, a felony, the Teamsters, the police, and the Washington State Attorney General all gave me the middle finger. Did they do that to your face? Did they come find you? Are they in the room with you right now? Are they the voices in your head right now? Why are so many clueless Seattle liberals more concerned about communist China? Okay, first of all, I don't know any liberals that are concerned about communist China. Then Seattle's fascist public schools, which excel only at driving up property taxes. Okay, I guess even a broken clock is right twice a day. I made derelict school principals a campaign issue in 1999. Hang on a second. This dude's been running for office since 1999? Has he been running for office since before 1999? Yet nothing's changed. Well, I guess if we had elected your crazy you-know-what, then maybe things would have changed. Let's follow China's lead and replace gangster capitalism with a so-called mixed economy. How about downsizing our obese military so we can have free health care? Okay, hang on a second. So first I thought this dude was far right, but now I realize he's actually far left, or maybe he's just crazy. He says, my number one issue will always be the environment. What if Donald Trump's war with Iran merges with a record El Nino to deliver something apocalyptic? Okay, well, do I need to explain weather patterns to you that you don't get El Nino in the Middle East? That's somewhere else where you get the El Nino. But sure. He says, I'm not a doomsayer. But the situation is worrisome. Be honest, he asks. Do you think the Republicans and Democrats care more about us or Israel? Do you think things are getting better or worse? Check out the 5th Republic Army. Oh, by the way, went to his website. It's pretty crazy. Notice anything odd about my campaign website? Hang on, is yours the one with the giant swastika on it, or is that somebody else's? Because there's so much insanity in here. Hang on a second. Where is it? Okay. I'm looking at his website right now. It says blank the Jews without the blank. Right on the website, David Blundstrom for Congress. And then on his Fifth Republic website, F Israel, and a big X through a Jewish star and a Black Lives Matter fist. Well, the truth is, I see that they're kind of in line with their ideology here. Thanks to all the pro-Palestinians and pro-Iranians supporting my campaign. Dude, I don't think anybody's supporting your campaign. I really, really don't. I need to look up how much money this dude raised. I need to look up how many times he ran in the past. He's got a website, Jurkey.com. All right, this is about to screw up my search algorithm, but maybe we should just... you know what? We're not going to click that now. That's something to check out at home because my computer's hot right now. So if all of a sudden I play a link, it'll start coming through the... Yeah, let's not do that right now. God knows if, I don't know, the Deutschland will be coming out of the other side of this thing when we're done. Now, it's kind of hard when you're on the same page as Pramila Jayapal to be the bigger anti-Semite. But holy cow, man. You were able to do that. This guy is literally next to Pramila Jayapal in the voter's handbook. And I use this to illustrate something to you guys. I am looking at my son's ballot. I brought my son's ballot to work with me today because we don't have secure elections, and my son lives in a different country, so he's not going to be using this ballot. He's not going to... See, I am an honest person, right? I could fill this out. I could forge his signature. I'm not going to do that.
But
I'm
you
using
could
a
just
scratch
send
paper.
it over to him and have him do all this stuff and send it back.
But number one, he don't live here. Number two, you know how long that's going to take?
But he does live here. He's part-time here and there, right?
Not really. He's got an apartment there, everything. He's there now.
Where was his address before he left here?
My house?
Well, there you go.
No, I know, but he's going to vote for whoever it is in the Israeli elections coming
but
up.
he's still a resident of the United States of America,
That's
and his
true.
address is at your house.
That's not
Send
untrue.
it off to him.
So, well, here's the thing. If the wife was going there before the election, I might actually send it with her because he actually enjoys the stuff.
There are some benefits to using the mail for elections. You know that, right? Like,
Yes. Okay. Like I can bring my son's ballot to work with me and use it as a demonstration piece. That's an upside. Okay. So let's go through this thing together, shall we? All right. Starting with U.S. Representative Congressional District number 9. We've got Jacob Parasso. He prefers the Socialist Workers Party. Yeah, that's going to get a big how about no from me. That one for sure is going to get that. Okay, so we're not going to vote for that guy. Who else do we have on here? We have, let's see, Shama Sawant. Yeah, that's going to be a big no also. Okay, so we don't want the radical Marxist communist. Wait a second, what does Shama Sawant say? She's got to be in here. Here she is. Here she is. Let's read Shama Sawant together, shall we? All right. She says, most of the time working people have no political representation under the system. The billionaires call the shots, while working people face endless wars and severe cost of living crisis. You know, she used to be married to a Microsoft millionaire, divorced him, took a whole bunch of his money, and then became a socialist. So she's bragging about the highest minimum wage in any major U.S. city. Oh, you mean the thing which caused less worker hours and caused restaurants to close? Interesting. Kashama defeated billionaires like Jeff Bezos to win the Amazon tax. Hey, you're right. She won the Amazon tax. Where's Amazon right now? Not in Seattle. They're in Bellevue. Well done. Hey, where's Jeff Bezos? Did you get any of his money? Or did he go to Florida? Well done. She won unprecedented renters' rights laws like a cap on late fees and publicly funded eviction defense. You bankrupted a whole bunch of mom and pop landlords because you funded eviction defense by people who were freeloading during COVID who were squatters. Well done. She won Indigenous Peoples Day. What does that mean? Was there a war? Did I miss it for Indigenous Peoples Day? And the nation's strongest resolution against the genocide in Gaza. Did it stop? Just like, come on. Give me a break. This is crazy. Oh, then the rest of it is anti-Israel, genocide, ICE, anti-ICE, AIPAC, ICE, AI. Okay, here we go. Here's what she's fighting for. Free health care for all, funded by taxing the rich, of course. An end to all military aid to Israel, shut down ICE and the detention centers, stop data centers and AI layoffs. So you don't want people to get, okay, never mind. And national rent control. Here we go. This is great. So she's going to lose. Okay, who else is running in this crazy race here? Melissa Chowdhury. Yes. The one who married the Pakistani fraudster who is currently in the process of deportation. Him, right. Okay. What's her statement? People are suffering, inflation, rent rising faster than income, choosing between blah, 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 blah. I'm the only candidate in this race who has already taken offense. Blah, blah, blah. Ice, ice, ice. Okay, I don't care. You're boring. You bore me. You're boring, lady. This is the one who just last week admitted that she was actually a member of the Green Party, and if she got elected, she would switch from the Democratic Party to the Green Party. And even the stranger had to ask her if she was still on record. That's who this lunatic is. Well done. Really, just well done. She's also the one who said she left all the LGBTQ support statements off her off her statement because she was worried about offending Muslims. Okay. All right. Who else we got here? Well, then you've got them next to Adam Smith. All these people are running against Adam Smith. And then you've got Doug Bassler. Doug Bassler has run a couple times before. I know Doug Bassler. I like Doug Bassler. But with all these lunatic lefties splitting the vote, Doug Bassler may actually have a chance to get through the primary. And that would be really fun to watch. Wouldn't you love it if there was no Shama Sawant and it was just Doug Bassler versus Adam Smith? Wouldn't you love it if there was no Melissa Chowdhury? Wouldn't you love it if there was no, what's this guy's name? Jacob Parasso? Yeah, he's not going to win. So there is an actual path to victory here for Doug Bassler through the primary. Could be a lot of fun. The problem is, as I look at my election ballot, a lot of you said to me, Ari, the voter's guide you sent out doesn't have some races on it. Would you like to know why it doesn't have some of these races on it? Okay, let's go to Legislative District number 37, State Senator. Would you like the one who prefers the Democratic Party or the one who prefers the Democratic Party? Which one would you like? Would you like the one who's the socialist or the far left liberal lunatic? Or how about Legislative District number 37? This one here, position number 1. Would you like the person who prefers the Democratic Party or the person who prefers the Democratic Party? Or how about we go up here, Legislative District number 37, Representative position number 2. Would you like the person who prefers the Democratic Party or the person who prefers the Independent Party who's not going to win? When you look at all these different races, it's like Republicans didn't even bother to show up for a lot of them. This is really, really upsetting. This is what happens when you have years of, well, who's the least worse option? Okay. Now the thing you're all asking about the Washington State Supreme Court. Let's be clear about this for a second. The Washington State Supreme Court is one of the most important elections happening this cycle. Why? Because they're the ones who are going to decide the income tax. They are the ones who are going to decide the keeping boys out of girls' sports. They are the ones who are going to decide parental rights. And you want a whole bunch of people who are appointed by Ferguson making those calls because Ferguson's been appointing his buddies as members of the court have been stepping down. So the picks that I have, and you can get this over at my voter's guide, which is up at kvi.com if you're driving in the car right now and don't remember, this is the most important one. This is the one you got to vote for. Position 1, I've got Laura Christensen Kohlberg. Position 3, Judge David Stevens. Position 4, Sean O'Donnell. Position 5, Dave Larson. Position 7, Todd Bloom. You can go look at these. You can go research these. Those are the ones that I have in my voter's guide. Just a reminder to everybody, if you want my voter's guide, didn't get it yet, you can text the word VOTE to 206-421-5757. That's VOTE to 206-421-5757. Another one here. This one for those of you who live in Seattle. City of Seattle proposition number 1, property tax levy for the Seattle Public Library. Let me start right here. This is not funding the library. This is funding homeless services and library services. If you want to fund just the libraries, put something in front of me for just the libraries. This is funding Homeless Inc. This should not be approved. Should this levy be approved? Right? No. It has nothing whatsoever to do with libraries. We should not be funding the internet cafes for the homeless. Just say no. Vote against proposition number 1, the property tax levy for the Seattle Public Library. For all my other picks, remember you can just text the word VOTE to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757 for your chance to win. Up next, my friends, a student of mine who became a filmmaker is in town for the Seattle premiere of a new documentary. When we come back, we'll tell you what it's all about and why you should go check it out right now. Plus, best part is you can download it off the internet. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.
We love talking about movies here on the show. When they're documentaries, we can learn something from them. They're not just more superhero popcorn flicks. But the next one we're going to be talking about is actually made by a student of mine, somebody we became really good friends. He was one of my first students here in Seattle, and now we're really good friends, and he happens to be in town for the weekend for an advanced screening of Just Tell Me You're Alive. It's about some of the families and the impacts of October 7th and the massacre on those families. Joining me now to discuss, one and only Zach Grasham. Thanks for being with me today, buddy.
Thanks for having me, Ari Hoffman, my teacher.
It's good to see you, man. I would say is that saying that you're a student of mine is kind of a goofy thing because there was like a 4 or 5 year age difference between us at the time?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So goofy thing. Anywho, tell us about this movie you made.
Right. So I guess one thing I want to say about it is, while it is about 7 families who had their lives completely changed or uprooted on October 7th, it is much more about what they've done since then. So it's less about loss or about destruction and much more about rebuilding and actually positively impacting other lives. So, I'll give one example. Jen Airley, she lost her son in battle, actually about a month or so after October 7th, the war began. And she had her husband and her at the time had a vacation home they were getting ready to start renting out. After they lost their son, Binyamin, they realized they had this calling where they really wanted to do something for other families, other soldiers, Nova survivors, etc., where they could, help them get back into society, help them heal. And so they, instead of, turning this into a rental property, it's now a place where free retreats happen for bereaved mothers, for, the survivors of the war. And they come in and they have different programs. They go to the spa. They really are trying to help these people's lives as a result of what happened to them. And that's kind of different versions of that story happen through all 7. So it's much more focused on the rebuilding and what happens after the tragedy.
So Jen Early was actually in Seattle, I think in 2024, shortly after all this happened, when she was doing a speaking tour. And her story was very, very powerful, very, very emotional, especially when your son's about to go into the IDF. That's beyond terrifying to hear the story of her. But how'd you get involved in this whole thing to begin with? What made you do this? Because the last time we were talking, you were doing more fiction kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I'm still grateful to be doing all kinds of different movies and projects. But I moved to Israel 2 years ago. I officially became an Israeli citizen a month ago, almost to the day. And while I was there, another Seattle connection, Nissim Black, who I made his first music video as a Jew. But he was a pretty well-known Seattle gangster rapper growing up, but he's always a very spiritual guy. Eventually he found Judaism, and he lives in Israel as well. He called me to get involved with this group called Moral Edge, which at the time was just an idea. I helped them build out their podcast platform, their studio, more literally than I normally would. I'm not a builder, but we came up with a design. I was buying all the materials. And the goal was always I would help them get their podcast up and running and then focus on documentaries and films that were really being born out of Israel versus a lot of stuff, might be coming from the Jewish community or even the interfaith between Jews and Christians, but they really wanted to tell stories that, happened within Israel. And Michael Gerbitz, who's the financier of Moral Edge, he's the owner of it. We were trying to do something about the hostage stories. And immediately in Israel, it's kind of funny. The most famous people, for better or worse, are the people we've seen on the news who were either taken hostage or, had huge impactful roles in this war. And getting time with them was either prohibitively expensive or just extremely difficult. And in my opinion, I think that the hostages themselves should get any possible benefit they have now that some of these people were taken out of society for 2 years in the worst conditions. So I thought one thing I haven't seen, and it's personal to me as well, is when people go through loss, in the moment of the loss, the community will come around you. You'll get the flowers. You'll get the nice messages. But 6 months later, a year later, that family is still grieving, and they will be for the rest of their lives. And I know from losing a brother, writing that story was hugely impactful for me, both emotionally and also it helped me get into college. But transforming that loss or that change that happens in your life into something bigger than yourself, bigger than your loved one, has a profound effect. And so in knowing Jen before we started the movie, I was like, there's got to be other incredible stories like that. And sure enough, one by one, we started uncovering them. And then, even my wedding ring, which I could tell that story, is also part of how I got involved and how we started building out the 7 families we spoke to.
I remember years ago when we were working together in a youth organization. A kid in our community died very, very young. I think it was right after his bar mitzvah. And this may have been one of the first times you did something like this, where you were trying to help the kids grieve because you had unfortunately been through it before. And you set up, I guess, for lack of a better word, a confessional, like a reality show, for these kids to share how they felt. And why do you think that was so powerful? Why do you think that helped those kids grieve who had lost their friend?
So I guess I'll back up. So when I was in high school, my brother Ari, who was by all accounts a star athlete, he could play basketball with, I mean, there was even times when he played 2-on-2 with Eric Snow, who used to be on the Sonics, and all the kids would comment, oh man, he's got a basketball on his head, because he would wear a basketball yarmulke, and he could hold his own on every level. And then when he got sick with brain cancer, you know, my life was totally changed. He eventually passed away, which eventually led me to writing something about him, which I actually published in a evangelical magazine called Guideposts. And that was profound for me. Several years later, when, you know, Sam, sorry, Jacob's his uncle. So when Sam passed away, I remember, you know, I was working a lot with the kids here, and I certainly not a grief counselor, but I guess I had been through something that most of the parents here didn't know how to relate to it. And yeah, I remember sitting with several kids, or, you know, kids, they were teenagers mostly, and talking to them. You know, one of the stories which still to this day, you know, one of our mutual friends, he told me that conversation really saved his life. He had been in a really, really dark place. He didn't even know Sam that well, but the combination of what he was going through and then seeing this horrible sadness like just spread over the community, he just was kind of getting that depression set in. And just having someone to listen to, I think, is step one. But then having that approach of like, it's okay to feel all this loss and all this heartbreak, but then if you don't do anything with it, it only grows. And I think, you know, the message of these families and my family and what I see happen with a lot of people who go through, you know, their own experience with this is transforming it into some form of action versus just the pain. Because I've seen families who have lost kids very suddenly, and, you know, specifically the Jewish structure for grief, I found to be almost life-saving, because it gives you a format where you really literally sit in the grief, then you get up, and then in stages you kind of get back to normal. But you're not meant to deny it, you're not meant to pretend it's not happening, but at the same time, you're not supposed to stay on the ground for more than 7 days. Mm-hmm. You know, you're still supposed to, and if I'll add one thing to that is, I really believe the pain of loss is there because you loved so strongly. You know, it was such an important part of your life. So again, to just let that be there without allowing it to do something, you know, and affect some positive change, it's not, I know, what my brother would have ever wanted. And clearly from speaking with these families and the parents, they all felt that way. Even for the ones who got their kids back who were hostages, there was just never an option for these families to do nothing. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
In the last few minutes we have with filmmaker Zach Grashin with his new documentary, Just Tell Me You're Alive, about 7 families impacted by the October 7th massacre. Normally when you do something like this, more people come out of the woodwork. Have you met more people because of this? Have more people come forward? Are there more stories to tell aside from these?
Yeah, I think the hardest part was we could have done this for 700 families. You know, this could have been an ongoing series. I think, you know, we found 7 really, really, really amazing families. People are coming out of the woodwork. I'm getting messages from people I haven't spoken to here in Seattle, or other people that seem very interested and more connected to Israel than they've ever been before because of what's been going on. And, you know, already on Sunday, which I guess this will be out the day after, but, you know, we have, I think, 100 people who are showing up to the screening here. We have another screening which may be happening in a neighborhood with your sister-in-law in New York. And other people have been messaging, either my family or other people connected to the movie saying, wow, we really want to see this. This is great. And the hope I know for the families who are in the movie as well as myself is, not to just be paralyzed with grief, not to do nothing when you're being compelled to do something, and learn that even when things are hard, if you get back up, your strength that comes from just pushing through is way, way, way more profound and strong than you would ever imagine. And I had another story, but I'll have to think about that in a second.
The documentary is Just Tell Me You're Alive. It is not out yet. It will be out on Tuesday?
On July 22nd. It is available for free. We really want everybody to watch it. It is also very not political. Can I make one comment about the quote unquote politics? This might get you in trouble. So someone was asking me, well, what's the point of it? Okay, we know that Israel and the Jews and this, they have a certain perspective. Is this really going to move the needle? And my thought on that is, if you watch the movie, which I hope you do, go to justtellmeyou'realive.com. You can sign up. You'll get the link when it is released. What I wish would happen from this, and you'll see some of the mothers who lost their sons to this war, none of them are calling for violence. None of them are, they want war to end. They want to have peace where they can live anywhere in the state of Israel without worrying about this happening again. And what I wish is that there were documentaries like this coming out of, even if not Gaza, out of the West Bank, out of, mainstream sort of Palestinian groups, because I have no doubt that there are many Palestinians who are suffering and wish they could be creating this, but if they created the same documentary that we created, they wouldn't get any flack from Israel. They wouldn't get any flack from the Jews. Jewish people would clamor to them and say, wow, this is amazing. The problem that I see is that we have broken families and so much grief to go through on our side, and what we want is to make this grief create some closer thing to peace. And I just wish and I hope and I challenge, like our cousins in the region, say, we know that you're also going through loss. We know that it's been an ugly few years there. But if you can recognize that the only way forward is to move forward, and man, it would change, I hope, the world. And so, my hope is that even though I know it'll be the warm audience that's probably going to embrace it, I hope that people will send it to people who are not totally sure what to think about Israel or this or that, and just say, look, these are families. And they're all different. Some are more religious, some are less, some are, they're just telling the story, and they're human beings, and they want peace and love.
The film is Just Tell Me You're Alive. Check it out on the website. Sign up so you get notified as soon as it is released. Zach Grashin, filmmaker, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank
really
you,
do
Mr.
appreciate
Hoffman.
it. Always a pleasure. Great to see you, buddy. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.
Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, my voter's guide is online. It's over at kvi.com. If you haven't seen it yet, haven't been over to the website yet, it's right there up at the top menu bar. You can click it there. If you don't see a race you're interested in, please email me. I will try my very best to dig into it. There's a lot of races, and it's a lot of work, so I hope you enjoy it. If you want to get it sent right to your phone, text the word VOTE. That's VOTE. Text the word VOTE to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. And when you look at your voter's guide, you may say, I've had enough of the Democrat Party, but you may not be the only one. Bill Maher. He's a classic liberal. He's a comedian. Everybody loves politically incorrect, uncorrect. They love all his shows. I love his clips. We play them here all the time. Have to censor them occasionally, though, because, well, he hasn't changed at all. He did a sit-down interview with ABC. And Bill Maher has been sounding more and more like a conservative, or is it just that the Democrats have been sounding more and more crazy? And they were asking him straight up, are you going to keep voting for the Democrat Party?
I mean, you get some Democrats.
Democrats are cowardly.
Yeah.
They're cowardly. Their party is being taken over now by, every day I hear about a new, very radical. I feel very good about, like 10 whenever years ago, like I did lose fans because, I wasn't going to go along with some of this crazy stuff on the left, too. I didn't change really on what I thought about the right, but I can't sit and just not notice stuff, which people seem to want to do because it's all about my team or your team. But, yeah, there's some crazy stuff. When we're cheering for the Intifada, I gotta cut, I'm out.
Well, I don't know if you saw Jay Clayton.
So that wasn't the only thing he said. In fact, he was actually talking about possibly voting for J.D. Vance during this thing. And that's assuming J.D. Vance is going to be the front runner. But I think Bill Maher, aside from really hating Trump, and I understand why he really hates Trump, and Trump doesn't seem to like him very much. I know they had that dinner together and all that, but then they were right back at it. It seems like Bill Maher has come around to the fact that not all Republicans are evil. And I'm not sure he ever necessarily thought they were. He has them on his show all the time. Had J.D. Vance on his show not too long ago. And I think when you stack them up next to the Democrats, you're looking at absolute crazy. I think that's just something you're looking at right now.
The start of that clip when he says that Democrats are cowards, he's talking about the fact of how difficult it is for him to get them on his show.
Yep.
And he has Republicans come on all the time.
I don't know any other radio hosts that have similar problems like that, right? We try all the time. Okay, I'm not going to say who it was. But it was hard not to be a little offended about this, but I kind of understand it. There was a Democrat I saw at an event not too long ago, and some random photographer was just walking around the room. I know this woman. She's not like a professional photographer. It was a random person who had just been asked, hey, here's the camera. Go take a few pictures of the event. And this person standing next to me and goes, I can't take a picture with Ari. I can't take a picture with him. If I do, I'm going to lose my reelection. I'm like, that's where we're at now? This is a person who's been on the show. A person who's been on the show can't take a picture with me. Now, mind you, I'm not going to make a huge stink about it or anything, but they ain't in my voter's guide. Okay, because it won't. I understand they're in a very tough election. I understand this person has actually made part of their election. You go on Ari Hoffman's show. But they've already done that. It's no secret. You take a guy like Bill Maher. Bill Maher calls it like it is. He votes for Democrats, but he's really mad at the Democrats.
Yeah, and I'd take that with a grain of salt because when I put that piece of audio in there, I read the headline. And I was like, because I actually watch his show.
Yeah.
And he says it all the time that he doesn't agree with that side, that far left.
Right.
But he also says when he has Republicans on, he is like, I'm never going to your side.
Right.
But he does say that he would one-off vote. He says his vote's in play now.
Yeah, right.
Like with J.D. Vance, he's probably serious about that.
He said last week. He said his vote was in play last week. I think ABC saw that, called him up and go, how do we get the clicks off that video, right?
And he knows what he's doing when he says that stuff.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, I think, one off here or there, depending on who's running against who. But I think when it comes down to it, I don't think this guy's ever going to end up going over to the Republican side of things.
I don't think he's going to join the Republican Party. But the question is he going to become one of those people who, it's rare for me. Usually when a person says they're an independent, they mean they're a Democrat. Right? That's usually it, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met an independent who was actually a Republican. I don't think I've seen...
What about a libertarian?
Oh, that's a whole different thing, my friend. That's a whole different thing. But you get a guy like him, you get a guy like John Fetterman, you get these classic liberals who feel like the party has walked away from them. There's a lot more people like that out there these days. That and other good news when we come back. Only good news to put a smile on your face heading into your evening/late afternoon commute. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. This Sunday, as a matter of fact, this whole thing just came together. I'm going to be out in Grays Harbor because we're going to be doing a forum of candidates for the GOP, I believe it is. I don't want to give out the incorrect data. I'm going to pull out all the information. I'm going to make sure we put it up at KVI.com. I'm going to make sure we put it up on our socials. But yes, I will be out there this Sunday afternoon. So if you want to come meet me in person, I'll bring some KVI gear down with me and we'll discuss some politics. That's going to be the whole event out in Gray Harbor. I'll have more details for you on that tomorrow. Also, just a reminder that if you need help with your voter's guide, you should be doing all your own research. But if you need some help, you want my thoughts on it, just go to kvi.com. It's up there right on the front page. Or you could text me, text the word VOTE, VOTE, to 206-421-57. Excuse me, 57. That's 206-421-5757. And tongue-tied at the end of the day here. We will make sure to send you the voter's guide. You can check that out right there. All right, switching over to good news here. JD and Usha Vance had a baby over the weekend at Walter Reed Medical Center. In a statement released by the Office of the Vice President, the couple announced the birth of Alec Neil Vance, saying both mother and son are doing well. We are excited to announce that our baby boy, Alec Neil Vance, was born this morning. Usha and the baby are happy, healthy, and our kids are overjoyed to meet their little brother this morning. The president actually posted a picture of the family. That must be quite a kick, by the way. I don't think that ever gets old. You know, hey, president sharing a picture of my kids. That's right. He put that up there. And the Vances also expressed gratitude to the medical personnel who cared for their family during the delivery. Quote, the incredible military doctors and staff members at Walter Reed Medical Center and the White House Medical Unit have been a blessing. We are deeply thankful for all they have done for our family. The announcement was accompanied by the official seal of the Office of the Vice President, signed by both J.D. and Usha Vance. The White House retweeted Vance's statement, writing, congratulations to Vice President J.D. Vance and Second Lady Usha Vance on the birth of their fourth child. It's quite a cute picture of the kids that the president shared here. Alec Neil Vance joins the couple's three older children, making him the newest addition to the vice president's family. Vance, who took office in January, alongside President Donald Trump, has frequently spoken about the importance of family, as often referred to his children while discussing public policy. According to the Associated Press, here's a fun little tidbit of information for you. Ready for this? The last time a sitting vice president had a child while becoming a new father was in 1870. When a guy whose name you probably don't know, Schuyler Colfax, and his second wife, Ellen Wade, had a son, Schuyler Colfax III. Colfax was serving as vice president at the time. Before that, John C. Calhoun and his wife, Florrie Bonneau, had a son, William, in 1829, while Calhoun was vice president. You had to go back that far for this. We elect a lot of old people to office. We don't have a lot of young people in office. When's the last time a president had a kid while in office? JFK? Or was JFK Jr. already born at that point? I have to go back and double check these things. I'm sure on the text line it's probably blowing up right now. People correcting me on that. Then there's this story, and this story made me think of Police Academy right away. This one is from Como News. New details are shedding light on the bizarre rescue of a man who became trapped inside the holding tank of a portable toilet in Kansas City. The unusual incident happened on July 14th while crews with Patriot portable restrooms were collecting units after an event tied to the FIFA World Cup, according to a company partner, Chip Counterman. Counterman said one of the company's drivers checked each portable restroom before loading them, knocking on every door to make sure no one remained inside. One unit was locked, and the occupant was told he had about 10 minutes to finish before crews returned. When the driver came back, the man still refused to leave. A Kansas City police officer riding on a motorcycle was flagged down to help. After the officer asked the man to come out, the response got even more questions. The man replied that he could not reach the door and couldn't get out of the toilet. Did you go swimming? Did you fall in? How did this happen? According to him, all of a sudden a head popped out of the toilet. The man had climbed into the waste holding tank beneath the toilet seat. Okay, I don't know the last time any of you used one of these suckers. Last time I did was at the Bremerton Air Show. They are not nice underneath that toilet seat. In fact, depending on how long they've been out there, they're not nice above the toilet seat. It's just cooking and cooking and cooking. Kansas City firefighters responded and attempted to talk the man through getting out on his own because they don't want to touch him. They don't want to help him. Who's going to clean up all that? During the rescue, the man told responders he had climbed into the tank to retrieve a Mountain Dew bottle he had dropped in there.
This is what I do not understand this story.
You do not understand it?
I do not understand the story. Like, the guy's like a perv or something.
Are they having a contest?
No, the guy's a perv.
Yeah, he's a perv hiding
He's
under.
a perv.
That's probably what's going on.
Yeah. No, like, could you imagine a bottle of Mountain Dew? How much does that cost you? What have you looked down in that pit?
Is there a contest for Mountain Dew that you win an airplane or something? And like he had the winning prize number?
And how do you get in there if you can't get out of there? Like, that's the other thing is, Like that seat's not very big.
Wait, hang on. I can figure out how you can get in but can't get out. I got this, okay? Not that I've ever done this before, but I can. The holding tank is massive underneath this thing.
Oh, I see what you're saying. And so then you can't.
You probably are floating. You can't put your foot
You
anywhere.
can't grab up. And,
right, and
like,
you're trying to pull but you don't have the upper arm strength to get out of there, especially when you're covered in.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's... That would be my guess.
Happier things, if you'd like to know. AI says Grover Cleveland was the last president to have a child while in office. And that was in 1893. 2 daughters, and then JFK also had a baby. They had a baby in 1963. Though the
baby passed away. Right? That was
2 days later.
Right. It wasn't JFK Jr. It was right. That's what happened.
Patrick, apparently.
Patrick. That's what it was. Named after the dad. Right. Okay. Anywho, getting back to this here, not the dad, named after the brother.
Back to poo stories.
Back to the poo. The important things in life. Back to the poo. Anyway, Kansas City firefighters responded, tried to get the man out. During the rescue, the man told responders, get the Mountain Dew. Firefighters ultimately cut apart the portable toilet to free him. After the man climbed out, firefighters rinsed him off using water from one of their trucks before the incident came to an end. Ew, 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 ew. Counterman thanked Kansas City Fire Department and Fire and Police Department for helping safely resolve what he described as a horrible situation. Authorities did not publicly identify the man or said whether he suffered any injuries. How about charges? Because why'd he really climb in there? Either he's got a weird fetish or he's looking at something.
That's what I'm claiming. I mean, you would not try to reach down in there for a bottle of Mountain Dew.
There could be one other reason. Whatever he was trying to reach for is more embarrassing than the Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
And he had enough time to get acquainted with what was in that pit, and if a bottle of Mountain Dew went floating by, he's like, I don't want to admit what I was actually trying to do in there. There's a Mountain Dew bottle. I was trying to get my Mountain Dew. Gross. Gross. That's going to do it for us today, my friends. We'll be back tomorrow. More insane stories, more exciting guests, and of course, more chances to win fantabulous prizes. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.